Ladies, welcome to this episode of the She is Extraordinary podcast. I am beyond blessed to have the opportunity to sit down with my business coach and share her extraordinariness with all of you. Meet Kelly Roach. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, guys. Hey, everybody. Judy, I'm be here with you.
Kelly, it is our honor. It's my honor, and the ladies are just going to eat you all up. Now, I want to give a brief intro so that you understand, ladies listening, who Kelly is and what she's all about. Kelly is known as the business catalyst. She helps business owners become game changers in their field and achieve million-dollar breakthroughs in their business. As a former Fortune 500 executive who built and led record-breaking teams all over the US, she combines powerful corporate strategies with the speed and agility of the most powerful online strategies. I love that she is, and I was just mentioning to her, kind of academic. She is cerebral, and I love that. Kelly has been featured on ABC, NBC, Good Day, The CW, among others, and in some of the world's leading publications, including Inc. and Forbes, where she shares the principles of her many best-selling books and her amazing top-rated podcast, The Unstoppable Entrepreneur Show. But clearly, beyond being the powerhouse that I just went through, what I love most about Kelly is her heart. She's a wife and a mom to a beautiful little girl who already is showing signs of following in mom's footsteps, which I just love, right? And Kelly is a real philanthropist working to bring clean drinking water to those who don't have access. Beyond all that, she is the co-founder of Give Her Courage, which is a movement to instill courage and confidence in women and girls to just be you, right? To pursue their dreams and their amazing future. And that's what I would call, ladies, going all in on who you are in Christ. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you for having me. I always say it's so special when you get to interview with people that you get to work with and that you get to interact with in real life. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you. This is going to be a great one because I've decided to have you answer some of the biggest issues and questions that I see my clients and students and those in my Less to Thrive community Facebook group, what they're grappling with. So let's start here. For the ladies that are just starting out, and some might be doing the 9-to-5 thing, hoping to get out, others stay-at-home moms wanting to supplement their income. They're just getting started. What do they really need to do that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say we're very, very lucky to be in a time where you can start and run your business from your phone. It is very rare that I am sitting working at a computer. I'm almost always on the go doing something. I actually was taking a call last night and the person kind of heard me chatting with Madison in the background. They're like, "Are you at the playground right now?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm momming. This is what we do." But I would say what's really brilliant is that entrepreneurship has evolved in such a way that we can run our businesses from anywhere and we can run it from our phones and we can run it for free 24 hours a day utilizing social media. And so for women that are also running a home, raising children, being a wife, a spouse, a community member, it really is more possible than ever to do it all. And I don't suggest trying to do it all and be it all yourself. But what I do say is, asking for help in the right places that allow you to focus on the most meaningful elements of building a profitable business, and you get help with the things that don't necessarily need to be you. And then on the flip side, really making the moments matter and kind of really being discerning about how you spend your time with your family so that you have that really good quality focused time that creates those lasting memories and establishes those bonds and that relationship that is really going to be the anchor throughout the years.
I love that. I love the word discerning and discernment, that we need to not accept what everybody's throwing at us as gospel truth. You have to really think for yourself what makes sense, and you can't follow 50 people. You're going to get 50 different strategies. Yeah. Well, to that point, do you think that we need a website right out of the gate?
No, absolutely not. It's actually the number one thing that I really recommend against. And it's the number one thing taught on the market. And, one of the most popular business entry programs of all times, this is where they start teaching. And what happens is people spiral out of control and they may or may not get a website begun or in process. But the problem with that, and it really is counterintuitive, but unless you have a brand and an audience, a website is completely irrelevant. And I now run an 8-figure coaching company, and I have never once gotten a sale randomly from my website. I get sales every day because our brand, because we're out serving the market. And so I always say, the simpler you go, the faster you'll grow. Right? The simpler you go, the faster you'll grow. So, I do little things on the go all the time with Madison. Like you said, I really make an effort to incorporate her into what I'm doing, whether I'm filming or I'm doing a content day or I'm doing a live stream, because I want her, number one, to see what work ethic looks like. And number two, she's picking up all kinds of things around thought processes and business and leadership and communication skills just by being in that proximity. So, especially for the moms out there, you don't need a website. Keep it simple. The simpler you go, the faster you'll grow. And letting your kids be a part of that process should not be something that you feel fearful or overwhelmed or stressed out about, but in fact, realize that you are significantly enhancing their ability to be equipped to go out and be successful in the world by having their proximity to you as an entrepreneur be a part of their upbringing. And I'm very intentional about that with Madison. And as you said, Judy, you can see it all over her already. She speaks on camera, she's comfortable on camera, and communication skills are everything. It doesn't matter what you're going to be in life, right?
And I agree with that. I love that. My youngest son was 2. I have 3 boys. Well, boys, they're like 23, 21, and 19. But he was with me when I first started my business. He was 2.
Yeah.
And, he's the one who wants to be an entrepreneur.
Of course.
And so that there's absolute value to that. Thank you for that. All right. So how about this? I hear this all the time, and it is the most frustrating sentence that I hear women say. I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it. Mm-hmm. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah. I mean, you just have to decide whether you want it or not. I think it's really important in life to take ownership and accountability for saying, and I actually recorded a video about this recently, don't say that you want something. Don't say that you're committed to something. Don't say that you're passionate about something if you're not just as passionate about doing the work that it takes to achieve it. If you're not willing to do the work to achieve the outcome that you say that you so badly want, you actually don't want it that bad. And you need to let that dream go. And that's okay. If you decide that you get to a stage of life and you're like, I thought I really wanted this thing, but that's not actually what I want, close the chapter. Stop talking about it. Stop obsessing over it. Stop feeling upset that you're not going forward with it every day, and focus that energy on something that you both want and have the willingness to do the work to achieve, because those are 2 sides of the same coin, right?
I love that. And one of your mantras is, look, you got to prove that you want it by training for your entrepreneurial journey and being that leader and being that visionary, the same way an Olympic athlete trains for his sport. And so that is just so good. All right, how about this one? I hear this all the time. I'm doing all the things.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting anywhere. So like, what's the missing link, they ask?
Yeah. Well, most of the time I find that most individuals have like an avoidism, I'll call it. I don't even know if that's a word. They're doing many things, but they're not actually doing the things that are going to move them forward, right? And when you look at Pareto's principle, you look at the 80-20 rule, 20% of your behavior is going to generate 80% of your results. The vast majority of what people spend their time on are going to have little to no impact on them generating the outcome that they want. So doing all the things many times hurts you more than it helps you. I'd rather have someone come to me and say, I'm doing these couple things and I'm doing them really, really well, right? Because mastery of a few essentials is going to get you a whole lot further than trying to play, the best juggler in the circus with 1,000 different things where you're not really making progress on any of them.
I couldn't agree more. They've got to focus on, among other things, of course, the revenue generating activities. And one of the things I find is that when ladies come to me, they're like, you know what, like I just said, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not making money. And so then I say, okay, and so tell me about your sales process. Tell me about what you're doing to not just, get followers, quote unquote, or as you say, it's so important to build relationships, but converting them. And when I say that, it's amazing. They scratch their head and they go, wow, I didn't really think about that. And it's like, we can't be afraid to put our offers out there, right?
Yeah, you're not really being of service to people if you're not extending an invitation for them to complete the work with you. And I think it's really, really important, especially for women, to understand that you are not being of service to your market if you're sharing all of this free content and you're talking about these results that people can get and you're painting this picture of what's possible, and then you just kind of leave them hanging. They want you to say, and here's your next step. And this is what you can partner with me to achieve. They are waiting for you to say, okay, so what now what? Where do I go from here? And so being of the highest level of service is not just about showing up and serving the market, creating valuable and meaningful experiences and content, but it's also the follow through to completion. And I always say, having an opinion about what's wrong is very different from committing to the execution of what's right. So you obviously are getting into business because you see that something isn't as good as it could be in the market that you want to serve. You see that there's an opportunity for things to be better or to be different. So are you here to have an opinion about that? Or are you here to do something about it? If you're here to do something about it, you have to be as committed to helping your clients get results inside your program as you are to talking about it out in the market. Like those are two different things, right? The follow through is where all the magic is.
I really love that. And that is such a great point. I never thought about it that way, Kelly, about
So
maybe
true.
you have strong opinions about how business should be done, but if you're not allowing these, your ideal clients in to the opportunity, what's the point of the opinion? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't
that's it. And that's actually what this conviction marketing book that I've been writing all year is, because I feel like everyone has an opinion about what's wrong. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you have an opinion about what's wrong. All that matters is how are you stepping up as a leader to help people to do it this new way or this different way, or this vision of what you believe is possible for people. It's great that you have this vision. Let's help them make it happen. Let's help them make it happen, right?
Right. It's about results. It's not just about ideas in thin air. So that's really great.
Exactly.
All right, how about this? One of my mantras is social media, okay? It's not about the post. It's not at all about the post. It's about the engagement. And so many of my clients and students, when they come to me, first of all, they don't like video. They hate seeing themselves on video. Who doesn't is what I say. I laugh and I say, great, who doesn't, right? And even models don't like to see themselves. But they're saying nobody's watching my lives. Nobody's commenting. And so like, why should I bother?
Yeah, I'll tell you a great story about that, Judy. So we just got into the top 15 for all marketing shows on iTunes for the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Show.
Wow, congrats, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, there are 700,000 podcasts out there. Marketing is one of the most competitive categories in all of podcasts. And when we hit the milestone of 1 million downloads, I took a screenshot of the video where I announced that I was doing this podcast 5 years ago. And I had never known this, but I went back and I found it. 0 likes, 0 comments. So here I was with this big vision of what I was going to do to change the world, with this huge amount of passion, with this big idea that I was going to do. And I knew in my heart, Judy, that I wanted to make a difference and I had value to share, and that I had this mission and this vision of what I could do to impact people in a positive way. And in that moment where I decided to share that with the world, I was the only person that was excited about it, apparently. Okay. But you have to not do things waiting for applause. You can't behave and then check immediately to the left and check to the right and say, am I getting reinforcement, right? You have to know in your heart of hearts, why are you here? What are you here to do? What is the difference that you were put on the planet to make? What is your mission and vision? And you have to be willing to commit to that vision over a period of years, not days, not weeks, not months, years, to really grow into the version of yourself that, like, you see it, you see it, but that does not happen quickly. I roll out goals to my team all the time, Judy, and you're inside the Unstoppable program and you probably know this. I mean, we are usually working on goals that are anywhere from 12 to 24 to even 48 months into the future. That's the type of vision that I have, because I understand that if we're only focused on what do we get immediate instant gratification for today, we will never make the difference that we want to make in this world. You have to be willing to do it because you believe it, and not be checking everyone around you and asking for approval or appreciation or applause with every step that you take. And I do think that unfortunately that's something that social media cultivates. But you have to understand social media is a powerful tool for sharing your message, but you can't get wrapped up in the vanity metrics of it. Engagement is important, but the first time you say your message, people might not get it. It might take you saying it 5, 10, 15, 20 times before it starts catching on. And people are like, yeah, Judy's really onto something. Like, I get this now. I want to be a part of, Judy's community and the message that she has to share with the world.
It's so great, that issue of patience.
Yeah,
And I love when you just passed that million download mark, and it was in the past month or so.
yeah,
And or some recent post when you talked about by year, you were very transparent, and I applaud. I just said, oh, that's why I love Kelly, for the 1,000th reason why I love her. But can you share that with my listeners? This was not, oh, you did not always have an 8-figure business.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I had so many times, Judy, I remember crying with my head down on the table. I remember I started my business when I had a full-time job still. So, I remember launches, Judy, oh, it's so embarrassing, where I had actually taken off for multiple days after the launch because I was so convinced, Judy, that I was going to be onboarding so many clients that I needed to be home from work. I needed to be full-time focused. Zero, Judy. I remember being crawled up in a ball on the floor, just like, why? Like, I knew I had a gift. I knew I had something to share. But what I recognize now, and what is very hard to recognize when you're going through this, and what I want to say to everyone is, it takes a very wise and mature leader to sustain success at high levels. And so if you do not go through a myriad of challenges and emotional turbulence and muscle building, really is what I call it, leading up to that level of success, you will immediately lose it because you don't have the muscle memory to manage it. And so now when challenges arrive, I'm always like, okay, cool. Like, what is this getting me ready for? Why is this happening right now? What do I need to learn from this? How do I need to grow from this situation? Because every setback that you're facing is to get you ready for what you're trying to become. And that's the thing in the moment that's really hard to recognize. But no, absolutely not. I mean, and even just, the example that I just gave you of my podcast, I was so excited about this podcast. And I said, when I launched the podcast, I said, Stephanie, our 15-year goal is to be in the top 10. We will be in the top 10 this year. But I said, our 15 goal, and that's the range of my commitment. And I challenge everyone that's listening to the show today to really ask yourself, like, what is the range of the commitment on your ability to stay passionate and stay excited about a goal, even when you have to commit to it for years to achieve that ultimate outcome? Because if you don't have that long range vision and that willingness to stay committed to it over a period of years, the really strong chance and possibility is that it is not going to happen. It's not. Greatness takes years. It doesn't matter what element it's in.
I so appreciate that. There's one particular client inside my Blessed to Thrive Academy who is struggling right now. In particular, she's new to the group, and I'm just reassuring her, look, if you want this, you're in the right place, number one. And number two, you've got to be committed. This is a long-term investment of time, of efforts, of blood, sweat, and tears.
It's everything. And Judy, we can just look to nature to see the most perfect example of this. When you plant a garden, that garden is growing and planting roots and deepening and strengthening under the surface, sometimes for months, sometimes for years before it bears any fruit. Right? And so that is the natural evolution of things. It is unnatural to do something and to expect that in days, weeks, or months, we're going to see that we went from novice or amateur to absolute expert. That is just unnatural. In some instances, yes, you can shorten time, you can compound time, you can make big leaps quickly, but you have to go back to like the natural progression in life is that you plant the seeds, you water the soil, you give it sunshine, you allow it the time to mature and take root, and then it slowly begins to sprout above the surface. And that's why my second book, Bigger Than You, has the picture of the iceberg on it, because that is what building a business is like. So much for so long is under the surface and no one sees it but you. And then one day you begin to see what's above the surface, but it's only that support of what's underneath that keeps it there, right?
That is a beautiful image of that iceberg where just the tip is coming out and all the rest is underneath supporting it. So but what would you tell someone who has invested in a program like yours or mine, and it was a stretch for them, and they're kind of feeling, I need to generate money. And my concern is their mindset is coming from a place of desperation, a place of fear, and they need to somehow really quash that. And again, trust the process. What would be your best advice for that woman listening?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is when you come from that place of I need, is typically when things don't happen, right? So when I start to have fear or worry or doubt creep up for me, I immediately shift to, what am I in control of that I can change behaviorally right now that will produce a different outcome? And I think so many times, Judy, people have this emotional response to the situation or circumstance that they're in, and all of their energy is being exerted on the stress of what's not happening instead of the behavioral changes that create what they do want happening. And so what I would say is, one, we need to release that need energy, because that doesn't help anyone. That's typically when things don't happen, right? Number one. And then number two is, you need to release the emotion and refocus on the behavior. And when you release the emotion, you refocus on the behavior. And I do this for myself all the time. You will instantly identify, what am I in control of? And what new action can I take right now that is going to make me feel differently? And when you do that, that's when you start to see progress happen, right?
I love that. I love that. Release the emotion and focus on the behavior that you can control. That is really, really good. Well, as you mentioned earlier, you're working on a book, a brand new book, Conviction Marketing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we can expect when we get that book coming out in 2021?
Yes, I am so excited. And I had no idea, obviously, that 2020 was going to be what 2020 has been when I started this book, but it couldn't be more fitting, because it's really about the evolution of how we show up as thought leaders and innovators and communicators online. And it's really talking about the next evolution of thought leadership from the standpoint of really being able to envision that compelling future that can be different, and really illuminating those internal beliefs that you have, and then understanding how to translate those beliefs into a journey that you carry people on forward. And it's very much what we were talking about earlier, Judy, which is, having the belief or having the idea is not enough. If you have the thought or you have the belief, it's your responsibility to then lead people through, how do they get to the other side of that? And the book is really about empowering entrepreneurs to articulate their message in a meaningful way that creates a movement, that energizes an audience, that magnetizes their ideal clients, and allows them to teach from a place of absolute authenticity and absolute integrity that is unique only to them, because it's about those deep convictions, versus looking at, well, what am I supposed to talk about? What am I supposed to teach on? Oh, my competitors are talking about this. The audience is asking me about that. These tactical things, all of that is great, but that's not a legacy play. And what I'm really interested in, Judy, is helping people to make their legacy play, helping them to map out, where does this go from here? And what is this body of work that you're creating that is going to last on beyond you and be carried forward into the future?
Wow, I love that. The body of work and going for the legacy. And that's what I'm all about too, Kelly. And I got it from you, which is, you got to go all in on who you are.
Gotta go all in.
The message God gave you.
Yeah.
And that creates a movement. And so many women I see struggling because they're piecemealing it, and they're really robbing from this one and that one. They're trying to be someone that they're not.
Yeah.
So,
And it's just one thing I'll add to that really quickly is that is so much pressure to take on, to try to be something that you're not. I love running my business so much because about 5 years ago, I don't know the exact timeline, Judy, but I got off of every email list. I stopped following every competitor. I literally created tunnel vision for myself, Judy. It was the best decision I ever made. And because I don't listen or know what they're talking about, there's no comparison. I'm really turning inward and I'm listening to my intuition, and I'm really focusing on illuminating my beliefs and my convictions. And we teach the Care More model, but by eliminating that noise and eliminating the pressure even to try to be something you're not, it's amazing what you can do when you have that energy to then focus in other ways. Does that make sense?
absolutely. I'm writing notes as we're talking here. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
this is
It's
so good. The tunnel
it's a
vision.
complete game changer. Complete
Yeah,
game changer.
the tunnel vision to not worry what anybody else is doing. Thank you so much. I know we have to wind down. So Kelly, where can the ladies find you online?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, Judy. I would say definitely check out the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Show. That's my heart work, my legacy work. So, there's, almost 600 episodes there. And if you want to come hang out in the tribe with us, there's always a party going on in the tribe of Unstoppable. So come join us.
Awesome. Kelly, thank you. Mwah. Love
Thank
you.
you so much, Judy. It was awesome being here. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies, we'll see you next time. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take the time to leave a rating and a review and let me know your feedback. I want to serve you best. All right, take great care.